Um, my name is Sparrow, and today we are having my very first stream. And yeah, so it's gonna take me a little bit to figure out sort of what's going on. And so if you see anything that is not the way it should be, yeah, please leave it in the chat. I do have my good friend Hungry Wolf, who is moderating in the chat today. Hi, I see you. Um, yeah, so, and actually, before I get started, I want to give a big shout out to him because he helped me set all this stuff up because I have no idea what I'm doing. So let's see. Um, so Hungry Wolf, is everything working okay? Everything sound good? Yeah. Hungry Wolf, everything okay? All right, now, today, now hopefully we get a couple of people in here because I did talk about it on some kimono servers. And yeah, Hungry Wolf said he's gonna let people know in his Discord. So hopefully we get a couple of people. That would be really nice. If we don't, that's okay because today I need to practice. Hello over there, Ruta. I'm so glad you could make it. Now, today I am practicing for a Kitsuke contest. Hello. Yeah, so I have a Kitsuke contest on Saturday. And if you don't know what a Kitsuke contest is, I do kimono dressing. I'm actually a licensed kimono teacher. I'm just getting started. I just finished school last year, and so I recently started teaching. But in kimono schools, you can actually do like dressing competitions. And so typically you're doing it according to your levels. So at each level, it gets just a little bit harder in the competition. The times get lower. The stuff you have to do gets more difficult. And so what I'm doing is something special. We call it mae raku. Mae means front, and raku is like fun or enjoyment. So it's actually just tying the obi in the front. But in my school, we don't just tie it in the same way that you would if you were tying it in the back. There's actually a special process. So we take a unique course if you want to. So it's typically more high-level students or teachers who take this course. So the time is very short. So I have to do everything in 8 minutes. So before I get started with practice, I thought it would be nice to walk people through it because I know some people who are going to be watching won't really know what's going on. So right now I am in my chitagi, which means like underclothes. So I'm technically in what would be considered kimono underwear. And the purpose of the underwear in kimono is a little bit different. So the silhouette that you want is not going to be very curvy. You actually want to become a perfect cylinder. So bras, instead of pushing the girls up and together, are actually going to try and minimize. And then I am a little bit on the thin side, so I have this hollow underneath the collarbone, so I need to fill that in. Then I'll also have to fill in the back, in between the shoulder blades. So that's the kind of thing that you really need to think about, especially for a contest, because they want absolute perfection. So today, I am going to be using all of these to make myself a shape that I am not. So first, I have this, which is basically medical grade cotton. Because my shitagi is also cotton, it should just stay. Now, if you have never watched someone dress in kimono before, I'm sure this is all going to look absolutely crazy. But bear with me, because it's kind of fun, so. And then this crazy thing is the same cotton, but we just put it in gauze. So this is used to fill in the lower back and hip area. And then that should also stick fairly well, but it really should be put on by another person. Because as soon as you start moving around, the gauze wants to slip right off. And I have this guy, and this is going to pad out my front. And you can make this by yourself. Like I said, it's just medical grade cotton and gauze, but it is tailored to your measurements. So if you need more padding here and less padding here, then you can do that. It is possible to buy this kind of padding vest, but I don't recommend it, considering when you buy it, it's not really custom to you. So it's just, oh, it fell off already. Yeah, when you buy it, you just can't control exactly where all of the padding is. It's also way more expensive than just getting the raw materials and making it yourself. So I'm gonna put this back since it came off. And then I wanna make sure that this is gonna stay. So I'm gonna use this guy. And this actually has a little bit of extra padding on the side. Now I remember why I don't like this. So, has some extra padding on the side to help fill in the waist area. Now, what I find very interesting about the ideal shape for women's kimono is that women basically never have perfectly cylindrical bodies. Skinny men, however, do. I find that a little bit strange that we have to pad so much in order to actually... Yeah, girl, that is a lot of cotton. But yeah, so we have to pad so much to get this shape. And if a man wanted to dress in women's kimono, he would have much less work to do to actually get the perfect shape. That's not fair. Okay, so now I'm all ready. Got all my cotton. And so now I am going to put on the Naga Juban. So the Naga Juban, it can be made of various materials, including silk or hemp or polyester. Mine is silk because the kimono that I have to wear is actually a formal kimono, and it fits me rather well. And most pre-made like polyester don't come in my measurements. So I have to wear this one, which was custom. And so that little foundation piece that I used before has clips. So I'm just going to use the clips to keep my collars in line. Yeah, hemp is a really good material for summer, actually. Okay, I'm gonna set the collars nicely. Okay, we're good. And so then I use this. This is called a tatejime. And this is mainly meant to keep your collars from migrating. And so when you are actually dressing, you would think because, well, this is an under kimono, it doesn't actually matter. No one's going to see it. So you would think you could just put it on and not worry. As long as the collars look okay, should be fine, right? But actually, it's Japanese, so we have to make sure that it is perfect. No wrinkles, no unsightly bumps, perfection. And does it need to be? I actually don't really know, but it is what it is. So now I am ready. What I am using today, I have this is my kimono. It is called a homongi. And so this kimono is semi-formal, and you can wear it to parties and things like that. And it has the design on the shoulder and sleeves, as well as the hem. I also, because it has to be, Yes, have to punish me if I let a single wrinkle pass. So I have to have this little extra collar. It's required for the category. And so normally this isn't really a big hindrance, but when you're trying to dress in 8 minutes, it can be a little annoying. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this on. So just pull it up over my sleeves. And then to grab the sleeve underneath and pull it through so you can actually see it's dropped down. And that's a lot easier to do when you're wearing a kimono that fits. I have a lot of vintage kimono that do not fit me very well, and sometimes if I try to do that the proper way, I just kind of get my arm stuck. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and make sure everything is lined up okay. Right, now, temporarily, I'm just gonna pull this up and this in place, and there it is. So I have this little elastic himo, and I'm just going to put that on the waist. Now, when you do these competitions, which I have already done one as a competitor and one as a model. So if you are dressing yourself, then basically until it's time for your category, you'll walk around like this. So you're kind of half dressed. I just pull the excess because kimono are designed to be worn, like the actual garment is long, and then you pull it up and you make it kind of bloused over. That's a characteristic of kimono. And there's no point, even if you're just a model, there's no point in getting fully dressed until you're actually on stage. So we just will put the himo on and then just walk around. And then after your category, you just continue to walk wearing it. And then I have this. This is a special kind of like obi-ita, and this is for keeping the obi like perfectly smooth. And this one, instead of being held by elastic, or nothing at all, it actually is satin all the way around. And this just allows you to be able to turn the obi without disturbing the kimono underneath. And this one also has like some kind of rubber. I'm borrowing this from the teacher because we all have to use the school's items, and I have this from a different brand, so she's letting me use hers. It's probably an older style and doesn't have anything to keep it from slipping easily, so this one has probably like a rubber placemat attached. And then I have my obi makura with the gauze attached. Now, because we're going so quickly, we can't do this and the obi age separately. So to prepare, and we're using shibori, partial shibori, which is the tie-dyed, because it's a lot easier to tie quickly. So I'm just prepping this, and then I'm taking this, it's called a kara ribbon, and using this to keep it in place. So this should not move at all. And then now, most of the time when we're wearing homongi, we would wear a flat obijime, but those tend to be a little bit more complicated to tie quickly. So we're using what I would basically call this like a furisode, wider obijime, like a round one, just because it's a lot faster to tie. So we do change a few things depending on, like for the contest, we do change some things just because they understand that the way we normally would do stuff, it's not always gonna work that quickly. And then I have my obi, and I'm gonna prepare this in a second. And I would love in the future to be able to get a camera that I can pose so I can show you how I prepare this, but unfortunately for this one, it'd be a bit impossible. And then we use this, and this is going to be a lot easier to just show you how it works. So I'll get to that in a bit. And then the last thing I'm going to be using today is this is called a shin datejime. I swear, I know what these things are, but I guess the nerds kind of get to you a bit. So this is like the one I used earlier, but it actually has these clips attached, sort of like the foundation that I put on with the shitagi. And for this, now we get to prepare everything before we even start. So we'll put them on, we'll stack everything on the obi because we have to carry everything out together. And so when I do this, I fold this with the clips out, and there is actually a top and a bottom. So the bottom is, like the clip is closer to the bottom than it is to the top. So I need to keep that in mind when I'm placing everything. All right. So I am going to take a moment and I'm going to prepare this. And what that means, functionally speaking, is I'm pre-folding it. And this will take me a moment, so I am going to put this on my, I guess, be right back screen. So I will be right back. Okay, I'm done. So I'll give you a chance to sort of look at what I did. So I leave the wide part, the tare, long, and then I fold the teisaki, the front part, in half. And I'm a little bit tall, and I normally wouldn't do this, but again, this is a contest. They want the perfect, like, catalog model version of kimono. So it's actually a little bit off center. So it's going to be wider than it would be if it was just folded in half. So then when I prepare, I'll have this laid out. And then put this down, and I want to put this down with the Velcro closed. That Velcro causes a little bit of anxiety because, as you can imagine, you have nice, beautiful silk items and then Velcro, so you have to make sure that you're using your Velcro very cautiously with kimono. And I take this and I put that's the last thing I'm going to use, so that's going to go on the bottom. And then before that, I have my pre-prepared obi makura. And then my obi ita. And the clips are very, very important, and they can be pre-arranged. So that's going to go on top. And then this is going to be the first thing that I use. So it's going to go right where I can get it easily. And now, so I would come in and I will be carrying all of those things, and I'm sure I'll be very nervous and trying really hard not to drop them. And then I will have to also be carrying my zori and my entry number. And the teacher has explained to me exactly how I'm supposed to juggle those things. I'm still not sure I understand, but, you know, we'll see what we can do. So after we come in, we kneel and we put the entire obi, and we put our zori, our shoes, behind us, and the entry number in front. And then we put all of the dressing pieces to the side. And while kneeling, we will then remove the himo and set that down. And then after, we will stand up and actually just sort of preset this and hold it shut. Let's see, let's adjust this a little bit. Because kimono schools are a little bit wary of you letting anybody even see your naga juban. I find a little funny because it's like you already have 2 or 3 layers on by that point. So to me, it doesn't feel like underwear. I'm not embarrassed if somebody sees my naga juban, but they definitely view it as underwear. So even when you stand up, you have to make sure that everything is completely covered. You hold it like this, and then when they tell you, hajime kudasai, please start, we turn to the side again, because when you do this from the front, everything is visible. So we have to turn to a 45-degree angle so that we can adjust the length. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm really hoping to get a good mix of kimono people and non-kimono people in here, because I think it'll be really fun for everybody. Like, the non-kimono people will just have no idea what's going on, and then the kimono people can just geek out, because of course we're gonna geek out to people who don't know what's going on. So I hope we get a couple of people in who don't know anything. Okay, so, and this is something that I think is a little bit funny, but the way I'm supposed to do this is actually with my thumbs on the outside. And I only recently learned this, so I'm still working on the muscle memory for that. But if I don't do that exactly the way they like, I will lose a point. So then I will adjust like normal. And then once I have that, I will then turn back to the front. And that's pretty much where I'm going to stay for the entire rest of the process. And right now I'm not timing myself because I'm just walking you through what I'm doing. So then, of course, front, back, come on, front. And then I have a little bit of a wrinkle here, so I'm just gonna fix that. And then want to get the eddy here and make sure everything is lined up nicely. And then make our little collar triangle. And grab this guy, take the clip, and you definitely want to make sure that if you're doing this, where's the wrinkle? Where? If it's on the top, I haven't done that yet. And then want to do that again for this one. And what I need to work on here is I keep trying to put the datejime too high. And then again, I'm going to smooth out as many wrinkles as I can right away. And I love these little like shirred datejime because they're just so fast and easy to work with. And then I'm going to remove the wrinkles in the back, close up the arm's eye, and then pull any extra material down. And then to fix the ohashori, I just lift this, fold it under, and that's good. So then here, again, we have Velcro, our worst enemy. So I have put my sleeves up so they are not at risk. Ah, you heard wrinkle. No, I was explaining that I needed to remove wrinkle. So, we're okay. And where is it? Okay, it's this one. The screen is messing me up. I cannot tell. Okay, it's this collar. Okay. Everything is reversed. And it's screwing with my brain. Okay, and then we would kneel, bring the obi to the front, and set everything to the side. Now here is where things are going to get interesting. If you do Kitsuke, you'll probably never seen this particular process before. So I'm going to grab the taresaki like this, and then I'm going to measure. Now, if I had Japanese arms, I would reach all the way out and then clip. My arms are too long for that, so I usually go about here. And then without letting go, because if I let go here, they're probably going to take a point off. And then I'm going to clip here. Then I take this and I just kind of fold it over my shoulder. And now that that's done, I'm going to go ahead and put that back on the floor. When I'm actually practicing, I'm just going to do that from the beginning, so you might see me pop in and out of frame. Sorry about that in advance. And I spin. And that's actually one of my favorite parts. I really like the spinning. And then I'm going to use my thumb here with this fold, and I'm going to tighten. And as soon as I do that, I want to go ahead and clip there again. So I could actually let go. I mean, I shouldn't because I'm trying to go fast, but I could. Spin one more time. Same thing. Thumb in the fold, tighten. But here, instead of clipping here, I'm going to take this clip and I'm going to put it down here. And the most important thing that you have to do, you got to make sure that you're getting both layers here. And so then I can just let that be for the moment. And I'm going to take the teisaki and pull it off to the side where this other clip is. And then I'm going to take this side and I'm going to fold it over my shoulder with the wa, the folded side, facing outward. Now, doing maeraku like this is actually considered to be a musubanai musubi, which means it's not tied. So this part of the process is actually very, very important because these two sides are actually going to hold everything in place because it's not being tied. So I need to, from the back, give it a nice big yank. So this is as flat as possible. Remove this one, and then flip this as far as I can. Now, I'm going to take this part and open it up. Now here, I have what is maybe a bit of a cheat, a tiny little cheat. Because this is actually really, really hard to estimate in a moment's glance. So I have this part actually have a little sewn marker here. So as long as I place that exactly where it should be, my taresaki should be exactly the right length. Now that's easier said than done, because even with that marker, it's really easy to not get it lined up exactly in the right place. So I do sometimes still end up with it a bit too long. So I'm going to arrange those folds so they're exactly even. And I'm going to hold this with my right hand, bend over, and of course I'm bending over elegantly to the side. And then I'm going to place this. I'm going to use my thumbs, and I have a lot of excess here. I'm going to use my thumbs to keep everything all nice and neat and place this above. And then this is my absolute least favorite part of the entire process. So I have to tie this tightly behind my back. And it's not easy. I always end up with it too loose. All right, so now that that's done, that's probably the easiest that has ever been for me. Now I have that little shirred himo that I brought up earlier. And I don't know if any other school uses this item for maeraku, or if it's a hakubi specific thing. So I'm going to fold the top part up, and then here I have the tare, and I'm going to fold those up once together, and I'm going to use this to keep it in place. And then I'm going to look for that extra material. And of course I can't see, so I have to do it by feel. And I'm just pulling it down and out with my thumbs, trying to make that as neat and as smooth as possible. And you take that again, and this is very, very, very important. So I'm going to hold this with my hand covering up the Velcro, because this is actually going to get done behind my back. So I'm going to measure out about the bottom edge. And then this is a little bit trickier, I think, than it would be with a karihimo, like a normal karihimo, because, well, I'm trying to protect the kimono from the Velcro. So yeah, I just think it's a little bit trickier than it really has any right to be. But it looks like today I have gotten the tare perfectly. So now I remove this clip, and I remove this clip, and stash it in my sleeve. So now I can actually remove this stashed teisaki, and I'm going to use this part, the shirred himo, to guide the teisaki over everything. Now, it shouldn't really require too much fixing, because this folded edge, it doesn't have to be turned or anything. It should be perfectly where it needs to be. And of course, if there's extra, you can just fold it in. But this time, I managed to get the perfect length. It does not need to be adjusted. And now, because we don't need another kind of karihimo, I can just take the obijime and guide it here. Guide it in here, and this is my second least favorite part, because now I have to tie this behind my back. And I don't know why, but I always tie really dumb when I can't see it. So there we go. So now, and this is another thing I kind of struggle with, now I have to remember to remove this part. Quick Velcro. And then also stash this in my sleeve. Now, we're going to turn this quickly. And now we use whatever remaining time to try and get this part done quickly and beautifully. So here, we don't just tie. Here, we want to actually pull up, because right now it's been tied loosely, so it's probably sagged a bit. So we're going to pull it up and then tie. Wrap it twice. And then tie and tuck. And then here, try and get this as neat as possible, but again, whether or not I've made any significant mistakes is going to determine whether I can actually take the time to make this perfect. And then to be faster, normally I would tuck this in like this, but we need to be fast, so I will roll this and tuck, roll and tuck, and then stick the knot inside. And now just make honmusubi. And now if I have any time remaining, I am going to try and any areas that I know I've probably made a mistake on, or any issues that I can see. I'm going to try and address those here. So actually, this is not lined up well. So you can't see it very easily on camera, but there's actually the unpatterned material at the bottom is actually visible. So I'm just going to give that a pull downward. And now I think I have everything more or less dealt with. So then I would move the zori to the front, put them on, and then hold up my number. And then they'll have me walk to the front of the stage, show, and show. Okay. Yeah, it is. I once did a project for my Japanese class a long, long time ago about kimono. And the teacher, like, I was giving information about kimono, and it was only a 5-minute presentation. And so in addition to talking about the history of kimono and the styles, formalities, et cetera, about kimono, she decided she wanted me to do a dressing demonstration. And I was actually a beginner at the time. So there was no way that in addition to the actual information part of the presentation, I couldn't even do the Kitsuke itself in 5 minutes. So what I ended up doing was probably the most terrifying thing I have ever done in my life. I did what basically amounts to a surprise striptease. So I went to the presentation wearing kimono, and I made a slide that listed everything that you used to dress in kimono. And then I, one by one, took the pieces off while naming them. And my entire class freaked out, which, I mean, is understandable because, you know, they came in thinking they were getting just normal language class presentations, and then suddenly their classmate starts getting undressed. And so I don't know exactly what I was thinking. Oh, really? So it's not just me that's nuts. Okay, that makes me feel a lot better. So yeah, so and by the time I got to the end of it, of course I had run out of time, but I also was so flustered by what the hell did I just do that I wasn't really able to articulate why I had done the thing I just did. So I finished, I opened the floor for questions, and the teacher thankfully stepped in and was like, so as you can see, everyone, kimono doesn't use buttons or zippers. Everything is held together by ties. And I was just, thank you for making my actions make sense. Okay, let me see what you wrote. It is true. It is true. Yeah. I think, without having, given warning. Oh dear. Oh, I did a dumb. This is actually twisted. Well, I mean, it doesn't really affect anything in the long run. It just makes it a little bit harder to take off. So, since I'm gonna try it, and I'm really glad that I decided to do this for my first stream because the contest is on Saturday, and so far I have only practiced in class, and I have done it with the timer, but it still feels relatively safe because it's my classroom, it's my teachers. I've gotten dressed so many times, it does feel like a bit of a safe space. And so doing the contest is very much like giving a recital. And every single time I've ever done a recital, doesn't matter if it's a concert or if it's a dance recital, I always make some weird mistake. Usually the things that I've been making mistakes on consistently, those will be perfect. But I'll make these weird random mistakes that I've never made before in my life. And I'm sure I'm not the only person that happens to, but I do think it's good that instead of just practicing here in my room by myself or practicing at school, I like that I'm getting to practice in front of people on the internet because at least I can sort of simulate the nerves of doing this on stage. Is that weird? I don't know. I would love to set this up a little bit higher, but they're going to be on the floor for the contest, so it's probably better if I try to recreate the actual situation as much as possible. And of course, if you're a kimono person, you can definitely understand that I have to both keep this nice and neat while I am waiting at attention, but I also have to, without exposing my naga juban, I have to make sure that the hem is draping nicely on the floor. Because of course we do. Let's see. All right, now I'm gonna try, I set up an interval timer. So I should be able to just set one timer and it'll beep at 6 minutes. See, be sure to, is that directed towards me? Or are you telling the chat? Okay, it's going to beep at 6 minutes and then at 8 minutes. And that's gonna be pretty much the same as it'll be on the day, but I added 5 seconds so that I have time to push the button and then get started. Okay, so during my practice session, I'm actually just gonna do it. I won't be talking to you at all, but wish me luck. Yes. Okay, that's 2 minutes to go. Which means I'm making good time so far. Because when I was practicing at class yesterday, I actually was turning at the 2-minute buzzer. Folks, I have 40 seconds to go. 40 seconds. I don't know how I feel about that. That is a lot better than I was expecting for the first one of today. I thought I would get really nervous being on camera and fuck up. I mean, there's still time. There's still time for me to fuck up in front of you guys, but I had 40 seconds to go, and I fixed stuff. And that's time. Also, I'm really hot. I have my air conditioner going because as I know some of you might know, getting dressed is a very warm activity in kimono. So let's take a look. Okay, my collars are perfectly even, which is nice because usually, and even in my practice run, this one likes to hide. So that's exciting. I have my date eri is actually pretty even too, so that's nice. And I had plenty of time to make sure that the outside of the shibori is facing outward and not the inside. But I find it really funny that my teachers were actually like really, really specific on that. Which of course, when you're looking at it full on, you can tell pretty easily if you have the shibori the wrong way out, but I'm going to be on stage. So you're not really going to be able to tell, especially because this is an older obiage, so it's kind of stretched out. So the two sides don't look that different. And then I have a tiny bit of a wrinkle here, but it's not that bad. And my okumi is pretty straight, right where it needs to be. And then my ohashori is pretty even, doesn't have a lot of bulk. That's nice. And then how does my otaiko or my nijudaiko look? Does it look okay? Yeah, it feels like it's in about the right place. It's centered. And the tare, okay, I did adjust the tare, but it is a little bit too long still. So I'll have to work on that the next one. All right, so I think this chaotic night, I think you're the only kimono person in the chat today. What do you think? Do you have any criticisms? Anything I should work on for the next round? Yeah. I have no idea if you're typing or if it's okay to go ahead and start. Yeah, it is a bit. Oh, camera. I keep expecting the camera to be mirror image, but it's actually flipped. And it's really throwing me off because when I see the collar is uneven, I'm trying to fix the wrong side because like this is my right hand and I'm seeing it on my left. And so I'm trying to adjust the obiage and I keep fixing the side that doesn't need to be fixed. And eventually I'll get used to it. All right, thank you. I will work on that in the next round. Let's see. And okay, it looks like, and it's hard for me to see because, you know, it's behind me, but I think it just got a little bit of a fold when I was turning it around. And I'll definitely try to be careful of that next time. Unfortunately, if there's an issue with the... Oh, T-Bot, hi. It was not intentional. Thank you for pointing that out. Yeah, I have a tendency with contest stuff. I will very often rush through the OBGME in particular. So that's something that I need to work on, especially, yeah, since I had time. Okay, understandable, but it's nice to have you in, even for a few minutes. So I'm gonna junbi down here. So since it's contest prep, I might as well tell you guys a little story about my first time doing a contest, which was last year. And as I mentioned at the very beginning of the stream, but I don't know if anybody was here yet, the categories, you don't get to choose the category you're in. It's assigned by your level. So for example, you can only do yukata if you are a very, very, very beginner. And so I've been wanting to do a contest for ages, but the first opportunity that I had was for the Kimono Grand Prix in 2019, but the teacher actually asked me if I would model for my classmate. And I was a little disappointed because I really wanted to do it. And if I'm modeling, obviously I can't, because it's not like we can just enter different categories and be okay, because the two of us were at the same level. So if I am modeling, that's all I can do. And my classmate was freaking out because she's a lot slower than I am when it comes to dressing. Even from the start, I was pretty speedy. And so she was, I don't want to do this. And I don't want to model. I want to actually do it. But Kocho sensei is Kocho sensei, and she wanted my classmate to do it and wanted me to model. So that's what we did. Well, and then after that, the next year, we had Corona, and all of the contests were canceled until classes started up again. I want to say close to the end of July. No, it was the end of June. And they literally started a few days before the contest was supposed to happen. And so my teacher asked me, like, okay, I want you to do Kimono Futures, which is the other contest we have, and they have different things. The Kimono Future, you only dress other people. There is no category in Kimono Grand Prix, there is no dressing yourself category. You can only dress other people, which is what my friend did. And then Kimono Future, there are dressing other people and dressing yourself categories. So you have a little bit more flexibility and leeway there, which I tend to be a little bit faster when I am dressing myself. When I'm dressing other people, I tend to want to slow down and take my time. But I ended up not getting a chance to actually compete because I was not comfortable coming into a contest without having had a class in 2 months, because I want to have time to practice, and it's just not enough. Like, you're supposed to have 3 practice sessions as part of your entry fee to prepare for the contest, and there just wasn't any practice time for the 2020. So I didn't get to do it until 2021. And by that point, I was in the highest level student. And that one should have been ofrisore, or like almost bridal Kitsuke, 2 people. So it would have been me and that original classmate. I would have done the obi and all of that stuff, and she would have done the kimono. And we would have, I want to say, 20 minutes? Yeah, I think it was 20 minutes to do it. And they ended up scrapping that entirely because to practice, we would have had to have 4 people in very close proximity, the teacher, the model, and then both dressers. So they didn't think it was safe to do with COVID. So they took all of us level 1 students and combined our category with the level 2s, which is dressing furisode, doing a musubi, I think it's called seikaiha. And it's not my favorite. It was actually the test that I had to do for level 1. Only the time was much shorter. I believe I had 20 minutes to do it for the test from Nagajuban. For the contest, I had to do it from kimono only in 12 minutes. And they put me in the front row of the stage. It was my very first contest, and I was dressing somebody else. So I freaked. I made so many mistakes. I barely finished. And yeah, so I'm really hoping this year goes a lot smoother, a lot nicer. But I think it will because I'm dressing myself. And like I said, I'm a little bit more efficient when it comes to dressing myself. But yeah, and then I found out yesterday, because yesterday was my last practice course. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think we all tend to get a little bit of stage fright. I'm hoping, since this is my second time up on that stage, that it'll be better, especially because I'm dressing myself and I can let some muscle memory loose. Like, yeah, thank you. Kitsuke. But yeah, so when I did last year, when I did Seikaiha, so one of the most important parts when you're doing Seikaiha is when you make the ogi, the little fan, with the taresaki, you have to actually flip it. So that if you just put it up normally, the design's going to be facing out, and also the obi itself, like the taresaki, is going to actually be flipped the wrong way. So it's not just aesthetically wrong, it's actually going to make it a lot more difficult to get everything else lined up correctly. And I had, of course, done this so many times practicing for my test, and then again practicing it for the contest. And I was only supposed to have 3 practices for the contest. I think I probably did 5 days of practice for the contest in class. Mostly because I was running out of course material at this point. And that was one mistake, again, I had never made before. I had never forgotten to turn that little fan. And then I'm up on that stage, and I go ahead and I put it right on there the wrong way. And my model's being a trooper, and she is holding those karihimo like a rock. And I'm trying to figure out a way, because I can't talk. I can't tell her, hey, please loosen it. I need to fix something back here. So I'm trying to just pull it back so that I can turn it without having to undo everything I've already done. And that probably ate up a good 20 seconds, 15, 20 seconds. And yeah, she's not letting up. I'm pulling, and she is just like, this is not going anywhere, which, good on her. Then if everything was going the way it should have been, that would have been a great impulse, but it did not, and so it was not. So I finally managed to get it flipped, and then I had to rush like crazy when I was finishing. I did not get to do any fixing at all. I just had to get obiage down. I couldn't make it pretty. And in the end, I was so embarrassed. My teachers were so proud of me, because as giddy as it was, I did actually finish in time. And I didn't make any severe mistakes. There was another girl that I saw doing her practice at the same time as me many times, and she was solid in class. Her musubi was always perfect. She never had a wrinkle. I was so jealous, because I felt like I was a sinking ship. I'm just looking from off to the side at her time after time, flawless. And just feeling so much imposter syndrome, what am I even doing here? What makes me think I can do this? And of course, when you're on stage, you're surrounded by other contestants, but you can't actually notice what they're doing, because you're just so focused on what you're doing. And when I was talking to my teacher afterwards, and I was saying, you know, I'm so disappointed that I made so many mistakes. And she told me, oh no, you did great. Did you realize that actually she removed the karihimo too early and her whole taiko just came undone and she had to do it twice. And it made me feel a little bit better because while I was definitely the hot mess that I expected I would have been, possibly more of a hot mess than I thought I would have been, it did make me feel better to know that my classmate was also nervous and made a mistake that she never would have made normally. So it did help me to like feel a little bit of kinship. It's not just me. So, and here is another big mistake that I made last practice. I did it. Thumbs in. Thumbs in. Has to be thumbs out. So, okay, I've cooled down a bit. So, all right. My hems are even. So let's go ahead and go. I'm trying really hard not to look at the screen right now because, of course, on stage, I'm not going to have any visual cues. It probably helps that I'm actually gonna, if I do look at the screen, it's gonna look like it's going the wrong way. So, I mean, that's good. It actually incentivizes me not to look because it'll actually fuck me up more. Like, I'll see there's something wrong, but I'll think it's the wrong side. Oh, the stretchy hemo is so that we're using it basically like a kari hemo, and also to, hang on just a second. All right. So we're both using it as a kari himo, but then also when we are smoothing out everything underneath. Oh shit, that's too early. Hang on, I'll explain after. Okay, so that's 2 minutes. Oh, right. Velcro. Tick. Okay, so that run through did not go so well. Probably should have followed my own advice and not tried to talk to chat. But also, yeah, practice isn't always going to go perfect. So I got it twisted. My tare is a little bit too long. Again, oh no, don't worry, Meowcat. That was my fault. I said I wasn't gonna talk during the run-throughs, and I did not listen to myself. It was my fault. Yeah, so don't worry about that. It looks like, yeah, it's still a little bit on the high side. Otherwise, Obiage looks okay. I could be showing a little bit more collar here. So, and that's actually, again, this is my fault because my collar is too far over. It should really be here. Well, at least I have that going for me. I may have messed up the Obiage and let my Otaiko fall, but I got the obijime. It's a little bit to the side. Okay, there, now it's okay. And my ohashori is not as neat as it was the first time, but it's not terrible. Yeah, I'm gonna go back and look at some of the chat, because I actually saw a story a bit. Yeah, definitely. It's especially, I think, when it's high-ranking people, when it's your teachers, people that know, it feels extra embarrassing when you make those mistakes. Yeah, I completely get that. Okay, and then, oh, the stretchy Velcro himo. Oh, it's in my sleeve. Yeah, so this is amazing. We don't usually use this in my school. I think it's unique to my school, but I'm not too well versed in what other schools use, so it might not be, but I've never seen it anywhere else. So what we do with this, and this is only used for Maeraku, so most people, even who graduate from Hakubi, are not going to own one of these. But when we're first doing it on the front, we'll put this over. So then when we are trying to smooth out the extra material, because it is a musubanai otaiko, so because we're not tying it, there is extra material here. And if there's not a lot of it, then it's probably not going to get in the way. But if you have enough there, like you're supposed to, you don't want it kind of poking out. So it just makes it a little bit easier to fold up the material that's going to become the otaiko later. And that way you can look for that material and you can smooth it out. And then because Maeraku, we're trying to go quickly, and it is kind of a flashy thing. It's not a normal part. We don't actually even learn Maeraku until level 1. So when you are already considered to be teacher level student, if that makes sense. That's when we start learning Maeraku, because it is completely, the process is dictated step by step by step. There's no wiggle room. There's no, well, some teachers do it, some people do it this way, some people do it this way. It is completely optimized. And so we don't use any item we don't have to. So instead of using a kari himo and then removing it, we use this because it serves 2 functions. So that's what it is. It's basically just a stretchy kari himo. And I love it so much. All right, now, let's see. Let's see. Well, I have a lot of things around my waist. Can you be a little bit more specific on which bit around my waist? The big golden thing. Okay. Okay, so I'll answer this question first, and then I'll go back to yours, T-Bot. So this is called an obi, and usually if you look up obi in a dictionary, it translates as belt. And in Japanese, you can find a lot of things, like even if you've ever bought a record or a CD that was produced in Japan, whether it's a domestic Japanese artist or a foreign artist, but it's a Japanese thing, that's called an obi. There'll be a little strip of paper that'll have extra information, track listing, stuff like that. That's called an obi. and so is this. And tying an obi, like, I wouldn't say there is really cultural, like, it is a cultural item because kimono is traditional Japanese dress, but I wouldn't say it necessarily has significance so much as it is just a part of traditional dress. It was before the Meiji Restoration, when Japan was reacquainted with the West, it was just a normal item of clothing. Like, there's no religious significance. There's different styles of obi, so this is a very formal one. So generally, the more formal, the shinier. So this is a very formal one. I would not consider this even to be homongi formal or like homongi appropriate. Because to me, this looks like a furisode one. Like, this looks like something that should be really, really fancy in the back. But what I love about the obi in general, just as an article of clothing, is that, number one, there are 1,000,001 ways to tie it. This is probably the most common. This is called a niju daiko. There is a simpler version for more casual obi that's called otaiko. And it's a little bit easier. But there are infinite possibilities for more like casual or super, super formal and fancy. And you can do anything you want. Like, once you get to a high enough level where you've done a lot, you understand how things fit together, you can create your own musubi. And it's like worn origami, where everything is folded and tied and held in place. Okay, sorry, yeah. Definitely, yeah, thank you for asking, because I can forget sometimes what things are common knowledge and what isn't. So I am talking not so much about events, but I'm talking about different styles. So this is a homongi. So it's somewhat flashy, but still a little bit simple. So it has design here on the sleeves. It has a little bit of design here. And you can't see it, but there's design on the hem. And this is, homongi literally means visiting wear or visiting dress. So this is something you would wear to go to a party, usually. Something that is a little bit formal, but not really like crazy formal. Or you might wear this to a wedding if the person getting married is not your relative. So if you're just a friend, you might wear this. There's more formal pieces that you would wear if you were a relative. And then, like I said, this is a niju daiko. And this is probably the most formal musubi. So if you're going correctly, you would always, always, always wear a niju daiko with a homongi. And again, there is a simpler version that you would wear with more casual kimono, but we're not doing that today because this is what I have to do for the contest. And for really formal, like unmarried women or unmarried girls kimono, the really, really long sleeves, you might have seen them before. Typically, you have special musubis, special ways of tying, that are only for furisode. So they're only for this unmarried, because these furisode are really formal and they're for younger women. They're really, really flashy. Because typically in Japanese culture, when you're younger, like the younger you are, the more flashy you get to be. So when you are in like your late teens, early 20s as a girl, when you wear formal kimono like furisode, furisode is going to be really fancy. Most of the time it's going to have these like really colorful designs that cover the entire kimono, and it has super long sleeves, and then you have these really, really shiny obi that, again, they just draw your attention. You'll have accessories here that you're going to see a lot of. Like if you're wearing a homongi like this, you don't want to see much of this item. So it's going to get tucked inside. But when you're wearing furisode, you want to see a lot of it. So it's going to be typically going all the way across. Everything about furisode is screaming, "Look at me!" Everything, including the musubi. The musubi will be really, really fancy and unique. And you will never, ever, ever see those styles of tying for any other kimono, only those furisode. And then as you get older, typically you would see the dressing, you would see the kimono get more subdued. That is actually a Japanese, an element of Japanese culture. You see it in like the geisha world, where when you have someone like a minarai who is learning but is not yet even at the level where they can start participating, they're going to have the brightest kimono with the most hair accessories because they have no skill. And then when they graduate to maiko, they're still going to have really flashy kimono. Everything's still going to be very look at me, but it's a little bit less than the minarai. By the time you get to senior maiko or geiko or geisha, you're slowly losing that flashiness because the flashiness is there to make up for a perceived lower skill level. So the higher your artistic skill, the less fancy you need to be. And then in normal culture, the older you are, the less you need to announce to the world, "Look at me." So that's why everything is the way it is. And then I saw something from T-Bot. Let me look again. See, I keep missing the actual taiko tying. I see. Normally, yes, we do use the index finger to measure the taresaki, usually when tying in the back. But we don't actually do that when we do maeraku. So when we're doing maeraku, because it's in the front, we actually are supposed to eyeball it. And I'm pretty good at getting it approximate when I'm doing maeraku normally. Where I tend to screw it up is now I'm trying to do it very quickly for the contest. So I have a little bit of thread in there that's supposed to mark where it should be. And the first time I did it, it was perfect. And all of the timed runs I've done since then, I have had it too long. So that's an ongoing problem. I need to work on that. So any other questions while I get set up? And yeah, because hopefully I will have enough time, and I don't mind going over, but yeah, I want to have enough time to do it again. So I don't know when people popped in. So I don't know how many of you were able to see me prepping my padding and stuff. Oh, let me see. Question. What do your teachers in glasses with kimono? Undesirable. Okay, so yeah, I would say generally speaking, my school, no one has ever directly told me not to wear glasses with kimono, and I have actually seen other people, maybe even teachers or advanced students, doing, like, wearing kimono with glasses, but usually fairly simple glasses. So I think no one's ever actually made me feel like you can't wear them. At the same time, though, I very infrequently ever see anyone at an event or at a class who is wearing glasses. So I think there is that classic Japanese unspoken social pressure to not wear glasses with kimono. And here, yeah, it's just me and you. We're among friends, and I prefer glasses to contacts, so I decided to be a little bit more real with you guys, so I just left my glasses. See? Yeah, generally, yeah. Yeah, I would agree. I don't really care. I have worn glasses with my kimono sometimes for school events. And yeah, I don't really feel bad when I do it or anything. But I do see, whenever I do see somebody related to my school who is wearing glasses, they generally are wearing the ones that have no rim. So it's just the glass and then the connector pieces. So when they wear it, you really can almost not even tell that they're wearing glasses. And that ain't my style. I like my glasses to just come out and say hi. Even these are very simple compared to what I usually go towards. I have a little bit of flowers here, and I really like them. So hopefully, when I do it this time, I really hope that T-Bot will be able to see, since they've missed every obi attempt thus far, because I'm really interested in how different is Mayaraku really from what other people are doing. Yes, I completely agree. The glasses are just part of who I am. I've been wearing glasses my entire life. I'm perfectly comfortable and happy in them. So why should I need to wear contacts if I don't want to? Sometimes I want to, but I don't think it should be forced. Okay. No worries. At some point, if you do want to see, yeah, it's super hard. Okay. Well, I'm starting from the kimono anyway, so if you take another break at the right time, maybe you'll get lucky. Yeah, for me, I think for events that I think are really extra formal, like maybe Or like for graduation, 100% I'm going to wear them for graduation. Hair, makeup, whole 9 yards, especially because I'm wearing my grandmother's kimono, which is 60 years old and thus definitely too small for me. But it has emotional significance, so I want to wear it. And so, because I know it's gonna be very, very giddy, and it's gonna be short, I definitely don't want to be coming in with a stained-ish vintage kimono that doesn't fit right and glasses. I've got too much of that social pressure drilled into me that, okay, that's just too many strikes for graduation. So, let's see. I know. Kimono is such a sexist hobby, isn't it? Like guys can get dressed in less than 5 minutes. Even a novice guy can get dressed in 5 minutes. And then the women's kimono is so complicated that getting dressed in 8 minutes is an impressive feat. It's so not fair. On the other hand, we get way better kimono. So is that enough of a trade-off? Like, would I give up the really, really fancy, pretty designs for easier dressing? Probably not. I'm curious though. What about you guys? If we had easier dressing, would you go for easier dressing over fancy? Or do you love the fancy too much and would just want to leave it as it is? So, okay. I'm going to do another run through. So, if you have opinions, feel free to chat, and I am going to actually listen to myself this time. And I'm not gonna look at the screen. I'm not gonna look at the chat. I'll look at it later. Okay, go. So long. Okay, so I have 2 minutes left, which is really, really good, actually, because I do not need 2 minutes for the accessories. So I can take my time a bit. I do wish that Twitter would stop giving me notifications right now, though. That's very distracting. Okay, and then number. Okay. So this time all right, this time I finished early, which is nice. But I made a lot of mistakes here. A lot of mistakes. So this time, actually my ohashori is looking really nice. I don't have any significant wrinkles here. It's also good. Obijime looks pretty good. It's not maybe exactly centered, but it's very, very close. And the obiage also looks really good. The otaiko, still too long. And I did I know I adjusted. I know I adjusted to the right length. So really what this tells me is that I have to get the placement on the taresaki exactly perfect, because even if I adjust it, once everything goes on and I remove that karihimo, it's gonna slide back down. So there's really not any room for adjustment in the taresaki. If anything, I need to go shorter than I think I need to. So I think that's gonna be the only way that it's gonna be the right length on the day, is just to, if I'm looking down at it and I think that's not enough tare, it's probably perfect. I didn't make any particular screw-ups in not taking off the himo or anything like that. My biggest problem is actually my collars. And everything is placed well, so that's not the problem. But I figured out what the problem is. Oh, I crunched my Juban collar. So everything is way too far forward. Which, yeah, I can't be doing that on the day. So, chat, do you spot anything that I didn't? Yeah. No. I think that should be everything. No, Hungry Wolf, you can't tell because you don't know kimono yet, but if you mod me enough, then eventually you will know too. Yeah, so this can I thank you. Okay, then I'm gonna go ahead and take this off because I am feeling very warm. So while I am doing this, BT-ball. Yeah, what I mentioned before, T-Bot, was, yeah, the tare is way too long, and I did adjust it, and I know I adjusted it to a good length. So that just tells me, because I adjusted it on the other attempts too, and it still was too long. So I've determined that when I do it for real, I need to make it shorter than I think it should be. I think that's really going to be the only way that I can get it the right length. Because I think as soon as I take off the karihimo, I think it just slides back down, even if I adjust it. So I just need to put it on in a way that I feel like it's too short consistently. The biggest issue is the collars, and that is because I think it's just because I did it many times in a row, and I didn't readjust it at all. It's actually, my Juban collar is really squished in here. So that is why the collar is really messed up. So I think that's the biggest issue, because the shape of the taiko is okay, it's just too long. So if that was the only mistake that I made on stage, I don't think I would feel too bad about that. If everything else looked good, it was just too long, then I'd feel pretty solid and pretty good with myself. But if I mess up the collars, I think I would feel really bad, because It's just such an important part of the dressing to screw up. And before I get off, while I have you guys, I just want to talk a little bit about things I want to do in the future. So I definitely want to play around with different padding options. Let's see. Could have been a little more taut. Yeah, I could see that. Q&A. Yeah, I could do a Q&A stream. That'd be really interesting. In terms of stuff that's more practical, like today's, I have a bunch of different things for padding. I would love to do a stream that's just playing around with different combinations and different options. Like I even bought a sarashi. I've never used it before, and I want to wait to try it until I am on stream, because I just think that'd be really interesting to try that out for the first time and make a ton of mistakes. But hopefully it'll be kind of entertaining. And then, yeah, so I have that idea, and I am saving up right now so that I can get a mannequin. And once I get a mannequin, Sarashi? Yes, yeah. I did find a really good video by Sunao. And yeah, I'm not too worried about trying it out beforehand, because I have done makigaze on other people. I've never done any kind of maki on myself before. So that's why I'm not super worried about making sure that I know how it works beforehand. I have already watched the video, because I do have a little bit of experience with not sarashi, but something that we use the same way. Once I am able to procure a mannequin, I would love to show you guys some like furisode musubi and try out a bunch of stuff, especially musubi that I've seen in my books and never ever done before, because I have done every musubi in all of my textbooks, but I also have a huge collection of obi musubi books that are just readily available from any bookstore here in Japan, that I've done maybe 5 or 6 out of these books. And the ones for Hanhaba Musubi I could very easily do on myself to show you guys, but anything that's really super fancy, like a furisode one, I would really need to do on another person or on a mannequin. So I really want to do that. But yeah, I just have to wait until I have enough money. So hopefully, yeah, let's look forward to that. And then I'm gonna try to always do the Thursday stream either at this time, or I might shift it forward 1 hour, because I need to have time to study, because I am at a Japanese language school right now. So I need to make sure that I can get everything put away. Yes, thank you. Yeah, I would love to get to affiliate. But yeah, so I can't go to bed too late. So unfortunately, I know the time isn't great, especially for people in the US, which is where my mod Hungry Wolf is. Let's see. Yeah, yeah, I could do that, but I don't want to have a whole lot of extra things lying around, because I'm moving back to the States later this year. So the mannequin that I'm looking at is only about $200. So right now I started putting aside, every time I get a lesson booked and they pay me for it, I'm setting that money aside so that my booking fee is specifically going to be used for my mannequin rather than going into my personal account. So hopefully, since it's only about $200, then I should maybe theoretically be able to get it sometime soon. And there's plenty of other things that we can do, me dressing myself in that meantime. So yes. So Thursday, either at 5 o'clock Japan time or maybe 6, because I have a feeling, and Hungry Wolf can correct me if I'm wrong, but he's probably going to want to be here for most of, if not all of my streams to moderate. And it's very early for him right now. So I feel kind of bad that, yeah. So maybe I might push it forward an hour. And then I'll try to do one at another time during the week. But because my schedule changes so often, then it's very difficult for me to schedule one time that I can say every week I can do this. Because I have kumihimo classes, kumihimo classes, and sometimes I have instructor course classes for my kimono school, or the Teachers Association classes, or Mayaraku classes, or events. And like this weekend, like I want to do Sundays. I think Sundays or like weekends, I can do an early morning or an evening class, and that would be good for a lot of people. But events are often on weekends, so that's going to be pretty tricky. So like this weekend, I'm booked solid, so I can't do Sunday at all. So probably I'll try and have a second stream that's more floating. So I might go ahead and make a fairly simple Discord to start, just so that anyone who's interested, I can say, oh, by the way, this week, second one is going to be on this day at this time, since it's going to change so frequently. And then I see a bunch of comments here, so yeah, let's take a look. Yeah. Yeah, so 100%. If you want to take lessons with me, definitely appreciated. And yeah, help me get the mannequin faster. I also don't know, maybe I don't know how early I should think about starting a Patreon, but I was thinking if I did start one, I would start out at probably only one tier and just have it be $5 a month, and having like a special, maybe have a special stream or something once a month. If I'm doing some kind of a special outfit, maybe have you guys be able to vote on like creating what the outfit should be. Stuff like that. So I'm kind of thinking about that. So I don't know. It's a work in progress, and we're just starting out. So we'll figure it out as we go together. Okay. Ooh, wonderful. Yeah, so I think I'll do that then. I'll probably change this time. Instead of starting at 5 Japan time, start it at 6 and go to, yeah, 8. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. What do you guys think? Yeah. Even, yeah, when I start the Discord, I'll let you guys know, and we can talk about stuff like that, because I want to make sure that whatever I'm doing, that it's things that are going to be fun for you, entertaining for you, or educational. Preferably an intersection of all of those things. So it's really going to be valuable and important to me that you guys can tell me what you want to see. And hopefully I'll get the hang of where I should stand so that you're seeing more of this and less of this. So, does anyone have something you'd like to say or ask before we finish for today? Let's see. Yeah. I don't know. I wish it had a little thing so that it would tell me if somebody is typing. Because I have no idea if anybody is actually typing right now. And I feel awkward. So should I sleep with one eye open so you don't like creep in my window at night and walk away with my kimono? Ah, yes, the booking fee. So classes are $30 USD for 90 minutes, and we can do, right now I don't have any kind of a structured curriculum. I'm really working with all of my clients, all of my students, to focus either on, especially for advanced students, one moment, please. With more advanced students, we are working at first on refining the technique you already have, and then if you have something specific that you want to work on, we can go to that more quickly. So building personalized curriculum, and then for people who are new, then I am structuring the beginning, but also still trying to do that as well, building off of what you're interested in once you have the foundation down. So classes in a group setting or individual. Right now, everything is individual. So all of the lessons are one-on-one online. If you happen to be in the Tokyo area and wanted to do in person, that is also an option. So that is, yeah, that's definitely available. I just don't have anybody at the moment who is local, I think. But I'm not opposed to it. Anything else? Oh, and yeah, on the stealing my kimono thing. If you would instead like to purchase said kimono, this one is a designer, which means that you can actually purchase it not from an in-person shop. So this is Iroka, Iroca. Now he is, at the moment, the designer is having some supply chain issues because of COVID. So the web store is not set up most of the time. He's mostly doing orders directly in pop-up shops and stuff like that. But you can DM him on Instagram and Twitter and ask about placing an order. He doesn't speak English, so if you don't know Japanese, if you don't know enough Japanese, yeah, I recommend at least trying Google Translate or DeepL. But he's super, super nice. I love him to death. And I hope he gets all the love and support from the community as possible. So it costs about 60,000 yen, which at the moment exchange rate is a little bit under 600 US dollars. which if you're not into kimono, you might think that is a crazy high price, and it is, but it's actually a lot cheaper than buying a traditionally artisan-made kimono. So yay for bargains that are not really bargains. And right now he is that depends. So he mostly offers by size. They do use traditional with tanmono. And when you order, generally you would have either the S, M, or L sizes. But if you have an unusual size, you can special order. If it needs to be fully custom, he does charge extra. But for me, he was actually able to use the large sleeve, and for the body, the M size. So because he was using predetermined measurements, just sort of mixing and matching, I didn't have to pay anything extra for this. Let's see. The price included, the price did include sewing. So it didn't cost me anything extra to get it sewn. Oh, I didn't even notice that. Yeah, 60 mon, that's super yabai. No, 6 mon. Yeah, so if you can mix and match your measurements with the pre-existing sizes, then it does not cost anything extra. You can get it for the same price as normal, which is what he did for mine. But if you are a bigger size, then you would need extra material, and then he does have to charge more. Yes, the music that I used in my BRB screen is the instrumental version of Dear Isabella by the band Marquis of Vaudeville. And there is a link on my profile page that if you want to check them out, and I highly, highly recommend. They're good friends of mine from Dallas, and their music is amazing, especially if you like sort of whimsical but kind of eerie or dark music. It's really, really fun. So definitely check them out and give them some love if you enjoyed the music in my BRB screen. So I think this is where we're going to end it for today. So everybody, thank you so much for joining me, and I look forward to having you again in the future. So you all have a good night, and see you soon.